I'd been a nurse for over 10 years. Working night shifts is my routine. I like the quiet. But a few weeks ago, something changed. I still can't shake what happened. At the start of my shift, everything seemed fine. I checked on my patients, did my rounds, and kept busy. The hospital was mostly silent except for machines beeping. I was in the break room when I first heard a soft, muffled cry. It came from the supply closet down the hall. My heart raced, but I brushed it off. It must have been my imagination, I thought. I walked toward the closet, but the noise faded. I opened the door, peering inside. The shelves were packed with supplies, but the closet felt empty. A chill ran through me. I looked around, but no one was there. I shrugged it off and went back to my duties, trying to forget that strange cry. The next night was even stranger. I entered room 302 to check on a patient. He was wide-eyed, talking to someone invisible. "No, I didn't mean to scare you," he said softly. I asked who he was talking to. His finger pointed into thin air. "Yes, right there," he whispered. My stomach dropped. I was unnerved but tried to act normal. I couldn't help but think maybe I was just tired. On my third night, while checking a different patient's vitals, I noticed the heart monitor was acting weird. It showed spikes and drops that made no sense. I called the doctor. When he looked at the monitor, everything was fine. I felt embarrassed. Maybe it's just my mind, I told myself later. Walking down a quiet hallway, I saw a figure. It looked just like my late mentor, standing in the shadows. I blinked, and she was gone. I rubbed my eyes. Was I losing it? I didn't want to run, but my heart was racing like crazy. By the end of those shifts, I was questioning everything. Was I seeing ghosts from my past? Or was I just exhausted? I kept telling myself it was stress, but deep down, I felt something was wrong. I wasn't sure I could trust my mind anymore. Then came the whispering. I was near the empty nurse's station when I heard someone say my name. I froze. I looked around but saw no one. The whispers stopped. I felt uneasy, standing alone in the dark. I took a step back, heart pounding. I wanted to run but felt rooted to the spot. Just as I turned to leave, I thought I heard it again. My name, clear as day. It sent shivers down my spine. I was alone, and yet it felt like someone was right behind me. I don't know what happened during those shifts. I've replayed those nights in my head. I don't think I'll ever understand what I saw or heard. But one thing is certain. I haven't been able to forget. The following night, I dreaded returning to work. I couldn't shake off the unease that clung to me like a shadow. As I stepped into the hospital, the familiar antiseptic smell hit me. I forced myself to breathe, reminding myself I was just here to do my job. After my initial check on room 302, I passed by the supply closet again. This time, I paused. I wanted to dismiss the strange cry I'd heard before, but curiosity gnawed at me. I opened the door just a crack, heart racing. Nothing. Just shelves stacked high with boxes and medical supplies. I felt ridiculous and closed the door, but a part of me wanted to dig deeper. As I continued my rounds, I stopped at room 310. The patient inside was an elderly woman, her frail body attached to tubes and machines. I noticed she was staring intently at the wall. "What is it, Mrs. Thompson?" I asked gently. She turned her head slowly, her eyes wide. "There's a little girl," she whispered. My stomach twisted. "What girl?" I asked, trying to maintain a calm voice. "She is sad," Mrs. Thompson replied, shivering slightly. "She wants to go home." My skin prickled. I forced a smile, assuring her it was just a dream. But as I left the room, my heart sank. The threads connecting these strange encounters were tightening. I whipped around, half expecting to see the girl standing behind me. But there was only the empty hallway. The night dragged on. I made my way to the nurse's station, hoping to find some comfort in the busy work of filing charts. Instead, I found myself staring out into the darkened corridors. That's when I saw a flicker of movement. I squinted and saw a figure at the end of the hall. It looked just like me. Panic surged through me. My palms grew sweaty as I blinked, unsure if I was seeing things. The figure moved closer. I opened my mouth to call out, but no sound came. My heart raced faster, pounding in my ears. In that moment, the lights above flickered ominously. I stumbled back, hands gripping the edge of the nurse's station. Then, just like that, the light shut off completely, engulfing me in darkness. I swallowed hard. Was I truly alone in the hospital? I took a shaky breath and turned, ready to flee, but the eerie silence was broken by a soft laugh. It was light and childlike, echoing down the hall. I felt it pull at me, a strange mix of fear and intrigue. Then the lights flickered back on, and the figure I saw was gone. My heart sank. I glanced around, searching for any sign of movement, but the hallway was empty. I felt a wave of nausea sweep over me. What was happening? I made for the break room, my legs shaky. As I poured myself a cup of coffee, the tension coiled tightly in my chest. What would happen next? I didn't know if I could handle another encounter like the last few. That's when I heard it again, a whisper, soft but persistent. Help her. I froze. The voice didn't sound like an echo of my own mind. It felt real. But where was it coming from? My pulse quickened as I turned toward the sound, heart pounding. I felt like I was being pulled into something deeper. Whatever was happening, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed answers. I stepped out of the break room, still shaking from the whisper. My mind raced with possibilities. Who was her? And why did I feel so deeply compelled to help? The night was still young, but the hospital felt more eerie than ever. I forced myself to continue my rounds, avoiding the darker corners and the whispers that seemed to linger in the air. Every time I passed room 310, I remembered Mrs. Thompson's words. I rounded a corner and arrived at room 304, an empty room used for extra beds during busy times. The door was slightly ajar, and I felt a pull to look inside. I hesitated, but that nagging curiosity gnawed me. I pushed the door open slowly. To my surprise, the lights flickered inside the room. A strange chill washed over me. I leaned in, trying to see what was causing the disturbance. Then I noticed something on the floor, a small, ragged doll partially hidden under the bed. Bending down, I grabbed it, feeling an odd tremor at the back of my mind. The doll's dress was faded, its button eyes dull. I could almost hear the faint giggles from the hallway as I held it. It felt significant, as if it belonged to the girl Mrs. Thompson referred to. Why do I keep getting drawn into this? I muttered to myself. I turned the doll over and saw a name stitched into the fabric, Emma. Just then, I heard footsteps echoing outside the door. I quickly stuffed the doll into my scrubs, feeling a mix of anticipation and dread. Who was coming? I glanced out into the hallway. It was empty. However, that childlike laugh echoed again, this time much closer, sending shivers down my spine. I backed away from the door, clutching the doll tightly. It felt wrong, as if it held a secret I wasn't ready to uncover. Then the lights flickered again and went out for a moment, plunging me into darkness. The laughter faded, replaced by a faint cry. Help me, it sobbed, a voice distinctly young and desperate. I felt the urge to bolt down the hallway, but something kept my feet rooted to the spot. There was urgency in that cry. It was the same feeling I had before, the connection I couldn't ignore. I took a deep breath and stepped back into the hallway. My mind raced for answers, trying to piece together the strange experiences from the past few shifts. Where was this girl? Why was her presence haunting the hospital? My heart pounded as I turned toward the nurse's station. If anyone knew something, it would be them. As I approached, I noticed a flickering light above the station. And before I could call out, I saw it, the figure, a small child standing just at the edge of the light. My stomach dropped. Could it be her? This time, I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward, heart racing, ready to confront whatever this was. But as I got closer, the child disappeared, leaving behind only the echoes of that haunting laugh and a chill in the air. I knew I had to find the truth. I wasn't just a nurse anymore. I was a part of something bigger, something I couldn't fully understand yet. My instincts screamed at me to keep searching, to uncover the mystery that lingered within these dark hospital walls. I stood frozen in place, staring at the empty spot where the child had been. My mind raced, struggling to make sense of the encounter. Who was she? Why was she here? Questions buzzed in my head like angry bees. I shook off the chill and approached the nurse's station. The fluorescent light flickered again, casting quick shadows across the room. "Hey, Anna," I greeted the nurse at the desk, trying to keep my voice steady. "Have you seen any strange things tonight?" She looked up, a mix of concern and curiosity on her face. "Strange how? Like equipment malfunctions or, more like ghostly things?" I managed to say, feeling silly the moment the words left my mouth. Anna chuckled lightly. "Not exactly what I expected my night shift to include, but this hospital has a history. Lots of stories floating around." "History?" I asked, my heartbeat quickening. "What do you mean?" She leaned in, lowering her voice. "Just that some say a little girl used to wander these halls. Died a long time ago, then rumors spread that her spirit never left." "That was it. The girl." I felt a surge of urgency. "What's her name?" I asked, almost afraid of the answer. Anna hesitated, eyeing me. "Emma." "Why?" I took a step back, feeling unsteady. I think I might have found something that belonged to her. I reached into my scrub pocket and pulled the doll out. Her eyes widened as she took the doll from me. "You found this here? In the hospital?" "Yeah. In one of the empty rooms." Anna's expression shifted from surprise to something that resembled fear. "I've heard stories that she didn't just die, she was looking for someone. Someone she trusted. It said she can cause trouble if she feels scared or abandoned." My stomach sank. I glanced down the dark hallway leading to room 310, hesitating as the memories of the whispers flooded back. "Trouble how?" "Just things happen. Like lights flickering, strange noises. Some say they've felt her presence. Others have seen her. It felt like the walls were closing in. My instincts told me I was stepping into something far deeper than I wanted. I don't understand why this is happening to me." Anna's eyes softened. "Maybe she thinks you can help her." She handed me the doll again. As my fingers closed around it, I felt warmth radiate from where I touched it. "What do I do? Talk to her, maybe? Send her a message that she's not alone?" I didn't know how to respond. I thought of the cry for help I heard earlier. "I can try. I just want to understand." With newfound determination, I turned back toward the hallway. I felt the pull to uncover the truth. The flickering light seemed to call me closer, even as doubt crept into my mind. Then the sudden sound of laughter filled the air, echoing once again down the corridor. It was followed by a faint, desperate whisper. "Come find me." That was the moment my resolve solidified. I could no longer turn back. I had to confront whatever lay ahead. As I ventured further down the hallway, the laughter faded, but the urgency built within me. I needed to know where Emma was. That's when I heard it again, a faint sound, like a child's toy chiming softly. My breath caught in my throat. I followed the sound, each step heavier than the last, until I reached room 310. The door stood ajar, darkness spilling out like a gaping maw. I took one last breath, and then I stepped inside. The room was dim, the only light coming from the flickering bulb overhead. Shadows danced as I entered, creating the illusion that the room itself was alive. I paused at the threshold, scanning every corner. It felt wrong to intrude, but the call of the girl tugged at me. "Emma?" I whispered, not sure if saying her name would make anything better or worse. Silence wrapped around me like a thick blanket, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I moved deeper into the room, the air carrying a faint, sweet scent, like candy. It was odd, unsettling. On the floor, I noticed something: scattered drawings. I knelt down, my heart racing as I picked one up. It was a simple crayon drawing of a girl with long hair, smiling broadly. Beneath it, the name Emma was scrawled in childish letters. A chill skittered down my spine. These were her drawings. "Why are you here?" I asked, unsure if I was truly speaking to Emma or just to myself. As I examined the rest of the drawings, I felt an unusual sense of comfort wash over me. It was like she had left pieces of herself scattered around, revealing her innocence. But that comfort was short-lived. I heard the sound again, a faint jingle, like a music box. It was coming from the closet. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but curiosity pushed me forward. I crept to the closet door and hesitated. "Emma, is that you?" A soft giggle broke the silence, echoing off the walls. The sound sent tremors through me, but I couldn't stand still. I grasped the doorknob and pulled the door open. Inside, darkness waited, thick and suffocating. Then, a flash, a lantern flickered to life, illuminating the closet. There was nothing in there. Just empty hangers swaying slowly, as if someone had just left in a hurry. Disappointment mixed with fear as I closed the door again. "Am I losing my mind?" I murmured aloud, wiping my sweaty palms on my scrubs. That's when I saw it. A reflection in the closet mirror caught my eye. In it, there was a fleeting image, a girl standing behind me. My breath caught, and I spun around, but there was only the wall, empty and silent. "Emma?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but it trembled. Had I really seen her? Or was it a trick of the light? Then, the light above me flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness for a moment. My heart pounded as the air grew thick, heavy. I felt it, the rising fear getting under my skin. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, rattling the frame. "Let me out!" I shouted, my voice echoing back at me. Panic surged, and I yanked on the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. "Emma, please!" I called out, desperation creeping into my voice. This couldn't be happening. The laughter rang out again, but now it sounded like a cacophony of whispers, swirling around me. "Come find me," they echoed, urging me, and then the door creaked open slightly, just enough for me to see a sliver of light beyond it. I took a breath, gathered what little courage I had left, and pushed the door fully open. The hallway waited, drenched in shadow, but the laughter faded, replaced by silence. I was terrified of what I might face next, but I knew I couldn't turn back now. There were answers waiting. As I stepped out, the door closed behind me with a clang, sealing whatever secrets lay within. I had to find Emma, whatever it took. Little did I know, something else was watching, something waiting in the dark. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, shadows clinging to the walls. I took a cautious step forward, half expecting the floor to creak beneath me. The air felt charged, thick with anticipation. I strained to hear anything, footsteps, whispers, anything, but there was only silence. I turned in the direction opposite the closet. If Emma had been here, she had to have gone somewhere. "Emma?" I tried again, my voice barely above a whisper. The name felt foreign on my tongue, carrying more weight than it should. I felt foolish, calling out into the dark, but I had no choice. As I moved along the corridor, the sweet scent I smelled in the room clung to me, an unsettling reminder. I wondered if it was connected to her disappearance. Was she still here? My heartbeat quickened, and anxiety pinched at my chest. Something shifted up ahead. I froze, straining to make out the shape in the shadows. It was a figure, seemingly small and slight. I took a wary step closer, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. "Hello?" I called out, my voice cracking under pressure. The figure turned, and I felt a rush of dread. It was another child, standing at the far end of the hall. "Are you lost too?" she asked, her voice soft and melodic, yet threaded with something unsettling. Her hair fell in disarray around her shoulders, and her eyes were wide, fixed on me. Despite the fear that clouded me, I felt compelled to move closer. "Do you know where Emma is?" I asked, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "Emma?" she echoed, tilting her head to the side, as if testing the sound. "She plays with me." A chill ran through me. "What do you mean?" The girl smiled, but it felt off, like it didn't reach her eyes. "She'll come back. She always does." I wanted to ask more questions, to demand answers, but a sudden noise pierced the stillness, a loud bang, echoing down the corridor. I jumped back, my heart racing. The girl turned abruptly and darted away, vanishing around a corner. "Wait!" I yelled, but the hall was empty again. I dashed after her, chasing down the corridor, the sound of my footsteps echoing ominously. When I rounded the corner, I found myself in a small waiting area, fluorescent lights flickering above. Chairs were strewn about, papers littering the ground. My breath came in ragged gasps. Where had she gone? I looked around, desperate for any sign of both the girl and Emma. That's when I spotted a shadow slipping into a darkened hallway on my left. I hesitated only for a moment before taking a step toward it. But as I moved to follow, I felt a cold breeze sweep past me, as if someone had just rushed by. My gut twisted. There was something very wrong here, and I needed to leave. Just then, another noise echoed, a child's laughter. It was distant, yet chilling. "Emma!" I called again, the name escaping my lips in a desperate plea. It was a litany now, repeated with each step I took. But I didn't hear a response, only laughter, echoing off the walls, growing louder, more frantic. A shiver crept down my spine. Whatever was happening was getting out of control, and I had to find a way to escape it. I turned back toward the exit, but the way I came felt different now, disorienting. The shadows seemed to stretch and twist, making it impossible to find my bearings. Something was closing in. I could feel it. And before I knew it, the laughter stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was even more suffocating. I braced myself for whatever would come next, knowing that I was no longer alone. I stood still, trying to catch my breath, but the darkness pressed in around me. I could hardly make out the walls. Panic began to creep in, and I fought it down as I peered into the hallway that had swallowed the laughter. "Emma?" I called out once more, louder this time. The echoes of my voice faded, swallowed by the silence. Just as I began to turn away, something flickered in the dim light. A shadow dashed past me so fast that I could hardly follow it. My pulse raced again, and I shot forward, chasing it. The corridor stretched on, bending and twisting in odd angles that made me question my senses. I rounded another corner, pushing through a thick layer of dread that settled over my shoulders. My mind raced with thoughts. I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I had to find Emma. Then I heard it again, the faint sound of childlike laughter. It was coming from further down the hall. I hesitated at the sound but steeled myself to continue. As I approached, the laughter morphed into a whisper. "He's coming," it seemed to say. "He'll find you." A cold sweat broke out across my skin. Each step felt like sinking deeper into a nightmare. I could rationalize nothing. There was nothing logical about this place, this night. Whatever it was that haunted these corridors, it wasn't merely a figment of my imagination. I turned the corner and froze. In the middle of a room that looked like a break area, I found eerie drawings scattered across a table. Each image of a child, but their eyes were dark and hollow, their smiles stretched too wide. My heart sank. Had these been created by the girl I had just seen? Before I could process it, the same emotionless girl I had run into before appeared at the door, her eyes locking onto mine. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice eerily soft. "Where is Emma?" I demanded, stepping closer. "Emma likes to play." She smiled again, but it was unnaturally wide, almost as if it hurt her face. "She doesn't want to be found." My stomach knotted. I couldn't just walk away. I forced myself to remain composed. "What do you mean she doesn't want to be found?" But before I could hear more, the shadows grew heavier. I felt a gust of wind swirl through the break area, and the lights flickered violently, casting erratic shadows. The girl looked toward the door behind me, fear seeping into her previously blank expression. "Run!" she whispered, and without warning, she darted away into the darkness. Lose her now, and I might never find Emma again. I hesitated just a second, then bolted for the exit. The hall seemed to shift again, making me second-guess my instincts. Just then, the laughter returned, louder and more chaotic than before, echoing all around me. It was everywhere. I could almost feel the walls vibrating with the sound. I stumbled, heart racing, when suddenly the laughter cut off a sudden, harsh silence that made my skin crawl. I need to get out of here, I thought. The air was thick, a weight that pressed down on me. I pushed forward, urgency gripping me tight. Then it happened. Just as I reached the threshold of the break area, I heard a voice, a calm, commanding voice that was unmistakably different. You should have listened. I turned slowly, dread sinking in. The voice belonged to a tall figure, shadowed and indistinct. Whatever or whoever it was, it stood between me and the exit. I stood frozen, my heart pounding. The figure loomed in the dim light, its features obscured by shadows. There was something wrong about its presence, something ancient and foreboding. I took a slow step back, but the heavy silence swallowed my movements. Who are you? I managed to ask, trying to keep my voice steady. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it raised a hand, pointing directly at me. An electric chill shot through my body, and I felt an overwhelming urge to flee. The air thickened, pressing in on me as if the world itself had narrowed to that one horrifying moment. Emma! I whispered, my mind racing. I had to get away, to keep searching. This thing wasn't Emma, and it was standing in my way. With a jolt of adrenaline, I turned and ran. I bolted down the hallway, its grotesque laughter ringing in my ears. I could hear it behind me, the sound of footsteps echoing against the walls, and I pushed harder. The corridor stretched on, twisting and turning, but I barely noticed. I knew I couldn't look back. As I sprinted, I stumbled into another room, desperate for a place to hide. This one was darker, a storage area cluttered with medical supplies. I ducked behind a stack of boxes, my breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. The laughter had faded, but the oppressive silence remained, thickening the air. I tried to regain my composure, to plan my next move. Suddenly, I remembered the girl from earlier. You shouldn't be here. Her warning echoed in my mind, and I fought the dread that wrapped itself around me. But where else could I go? I had to find Emma, no matter the cost. Then, I noticed something on the wall. A flicker of light drew my attention. I leaned closer, realizing it was a small window set high above the ground. I could see the faint outlines of trees swaying against the night sky, an escape route. But before I could formulate a plan, more laughter erupted. This time, it came from somewhere deeper inside the storage room. I froze, fear gripping me again. It was impossible to discern where it was coming from. Emma? I called out, my voice a mixture of hope and terror. There was no answer, only more giggles that seemed to echo from every corner. The darkness felt alive around me, pulsing like a living thing. From behind the boxes, something moved. A small, shadowy figure appeared, emerging from the depths of the clutter. My heart raced again as I tried to make out its shape. Emma? I asked, my voice trembling. The girl stepped into the light. But it wasn't Emma. It was the same emotionless girl from before, her unblinking gaze locked onto mine. You shouldn't have come back, she said softly. Where is she? I asked, desperation creeping into my words. The girl tilted her head, her wide smile appearing again. You have to play first, she said. He won't let you leave until you do. Suddenly, the room went cold. I felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing in on me. I glanced around for an escape, the walls closing in. Play what? I gasped, then everything went dark. I blinked, the darkness swallowing me whole. My senses went haywire, disoriented. Moments felt like hours as I waited for my eyes to adjust. Then, I heard a low, haunting hum that slid into my consciousness. It was almost melodic, like a lullaby twisted with malice. Where am I? I whispered, the words disappearing into the heavy air. Panic surged again, but I fought to stay calm. I couldn't let fear take over. Gradually, the darkness receded, revealing the storage room again. But everything was different. The stacks of boxes were now arranged in strange patterns, circling a large, circular object in the center. The object, an old, rusty gramophone, hummed softly as if it had a life of its own. The girl was still there, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her smile wider and more unsettling than before. It's time to play, she said, clapping her hands together. The music will start when you choose a card. She gestured to a set of cards laid out in a fan shape before me, appearing out of nowhere. Each was different, some torn and faded, others slick and new. I felt a strange pull toward them, as if they were beckoning me closer. Choose one, the girl insisted, her eyes gleaming with excitement. What if I don't? I asked, feeling foolish for bargaining with a child who clearly wasn't what she seemed. Her smile faltered for a moment, a glimpse of something dark flashed across her face. Then the game won't end, she warned, her voice low. And you won't find Emma. My heart dropped. I couldn't risk that. Desperation forced my hand to reach out. I grabbed a card. Its surface was cool and textured under my fingers. The moment I flipped it over, it felt like a jolt of electricity surged through me. An echo, the girl announced, her tone a mix of glee and dread. I looked down at the card. The image dug into my mind, a fractured mirror reflecting endless hallways, twisting and turning. Confusion swirled inside me. What does that mean? I asked, glancing back at her. It means you reflect what's around you. Look closer, and you'll see. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. You might find what you seek, or something worse. Before I could process what she meant, the gramophone sprang to life. The eerie melody filled the room, wrapping around me, pulling at my senses. The walls began to shimmer as if the shadows were alive. The outlines of the boxes flickered, casting strange shapes. I turned my attention back to the girl, her expression now serious. You have to go deeper, she instructed. Don't be afraid to face it. What if I can't? I breathed, unease gripping my stomach. Then you'll be part of the game forever. The laughter returned, echoing along with the music. I felt it in my bones, a mocking reminder of my predicament. Anxiety flooded my mind as the shadows twisted and danced, closing in around me like a noose. Suddenly, the melody changed. It became more frantic, desperate, and the room began to vibrate. The gramophone screeched and then stopped, leaving an oppressive silence in its wake. Someone else was in the room. I spun around, heart racing, ready to confront whatever new horror awaited me. But all I found was more shadows, shifting in the corners, blending together as if they were alive. Then I saw a figure emerging from the darkness, moving toward me. My breathing quickened, the weight of uncertainty pressing down again. I had a choice to make, but now it felt like it could be the last choice I ever made. I stood paralyzed as the figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness and swaying like a ghost caught between worlds. You've returned, it said, its voice a low murmur that felt deeply familiar yet sinister. Still searching, are you? Who are you? I managed to croak out, throat dry and heart pounding. The figure took a step forward, revealing a hollow face crowned with dark, vacant eyes. It felt as if I was staring into a broken mirror, a reflection of something I had lost, something that mirrored my own fears and regrets. Time does peculiar things here, it said, voice thick with a timeless weight. You wanted answers. You sought Emma. But is it her you truly seek, or is it the escape from your own memories? The words hit me hard. A whirlwind of emotions swept through me like an uncontrollable tide. I was not just fighting for Emma, I was battling my own ghosts, the trauma, the loss, and the weight of every patient I had ever lost. Did I want to save Emma, or was I hoping to save myself? Enough, I shouted, shaking off the invasive thoughts. I had come too far to be sidetracked by the shadows of my own mind. Where is Emma? At that, the figure dissolved into a flurry of shadows, laughter ringing out, echoing through the room. Panic surged anew. Just as I was ready to spiral into despair, I felt a sudden urge wash over me, an urge to confront the very feelings I had spent years trying to bury. Play. The girl's voice rang out from the corners of the room, sweet yet sinister. You must choose. Play to find her. With newfound determination, I approached the set of cards laid out before me, feeling the weight of choice settle in my bones. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I had to try. Ignoring the trembles of fear creeping up my spine, I reached for another card, glancing at the flickering shadows that surrounded me, gripping the card tightly. I flipped it over. A tempest swirled across the surface, colors melding into a chaotic dance. My stomach dropped. The card depicted a storm, with images of lost children swirling through the skies, trying to find their way home. "Dare you seek their fate?" the girl whispered, her eyes narrowing. "You must let them guide you, or join them in their despair." I felt something pull at my heart. Each flicker of the shadows seemed like a beckoning hand. "I will face it," I declared, forcing the words out, though doubt seeped into the crevices of my mind. I couldn't let the darkness have me. Not again. As I closed my eyes, the reflection of the room changed. I felt the echo of every lost soul that had wandered through these halls. The whispers grew louder, forming clearer images of each child, each lost hope, a canvas of memories. "Emma!" I shouted into the void. "I'm here. I won't leave you." A silence followed, heavy and profound. Then, in a heartbeat, I felt a warmth enveloping me, a gentle hug of light in this suffocating dark. I opened my eyes to see something moving beyond the shadows, a glimmer of hope. "Help me," came the soft, familiar voice from somewhere near. It was Emma. Suddenly, the looming dark transformed, swirling around the unmistakable shape of a small girl, bright and radiant. There she was, appearing just beyond my reach, her wide eyes locking onto mine. I could feel warmth radiating from her, pulling me in. "Emma!" I cried again, reaching out, but the dark had its grip on me, pulling at my heartstrings, trying to drag me back into despair. "Trust me," she said, the urgency clear in her voice. "Together, we can break free. But you must let go." Those words resonated deep within as I struggled against the darkness. The fear, the pain, all the hard times I had faced, it was suffocating. But I couldn't lose her. Closing my eyes again, I summoned all the warmth and love I had left, willing it to break through the darkness. I let go of everything, the doubt, the grief, the heaviness holding me down, and in that moment, the shadows receded, ashes scattering in the light. I felt something unravel within me. The whispers quieted to a hush, and I opened my eyes, standing in an empty hallway. Illuminated and calm. Suddenly, I felt Emma's small hand grasp my own. I turned, and there she was, brighter than before, a beam of light amid the shadows. But before I could embrace her, she spoke softly, "You found me, but there are still others. Will you help them?" I hesitated. There was a part of me that wanted to flee, to forget all of this. But as I looked into her innocent eyes, I understood. I wasn't just a nurse anymore. I was a guardian of memories, a beacon for lost souls. "I can't promise I'll be brave," I said hesitantly, "but I'll try." A nod from Emma was all I needed. Together, we stepped deeper into the light of the unknown. As we walked on, I could still hear the distant echoes of laughter, mingling with whispers and shadows that would forever haunt these halls. But now, I felt equipped to face whatever lay ahead. I would help them all. I may never understand what happened that night, but I knew I had found my purpose. I glanced back once, the corridor darkening behind us, leaving many questions unresolved, shadows lingering, but my heart felt lighter. Together, we walked toward the flickering light, wondering what fate awaited us next, as the hospital hummed with a life unlike any other.